Good morning, everyone. This is Ron. Saturday morning, we'll go ahead and get started. Uh, the last Monday, we were talking about the 42 affirmations, uh, which we primarily did all weekend, actually. Various conversations stemmed up from these, and a couple of things I want to point out today, if time permits. But as always, want to first see if you have any questions or comments about this or anything else that may have grabbed your attention this week.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, family. Are the days becoming nights and the nights becoming days? And the reason why I ask that is because time is speeding up, and it seems like 365 days are not that. It's like the number is erasing. That's my question for right now.
I like that. I like that question. Anybody want to speak to that? I guess while everybody's getting their thoughts together, I never thought about the days and days becoming nights. I never thought about it from that perspective, Evelyn. But what I have thought about is as things are being uncovered, as things are being revealed. I read something online where somebody was talking about days meaning enlightenment. And I thought that was interesting. So as we reveal things and as truth is being uncovered, I look at the manifestation of this physical body that we call Earth. I think it will have some effect on it. So the speeding up of time and the need for darkness and I think too will be affected by this. So it's something I've given some thought to. I guess not enough to kind of elaborate on it like you're desiring, but I too have noticed that. Seems like a month can start, and a week into the month, you're already considering it's the end of the month, and what do I need to do by the end of the month? What things do I need to get in order? How fast time has sped up. So yeah, it is something that has been observed, but anyone else, and I'm not sure I touched your question at all, but anyone else can help out with this.
Suppose what Evelyn actually is raising didn't come from her mind, but from her soul. Suppose the day and night as we know it to be, and it speeding up. Suppose that what we're seeing, in essence, is a manifestation of something that's really spiritual. And suppose the days becoming night and the night becoming days is simply saying that the enlightenment that we receive from the wisdom is bringing into our desires, to the place of our desires, a desire for more wisdom. And the more wisdom, and wisdom is darkness. So the enlightenment becomes a desire for more wisdom, which means it becomes dark. And the wisdom itself, we desire from it enlightenment, so that dark wisdom becomes light itself. Does that make sense? You understand what I'm trying to say?
I do.
Yeah.
Evelyn or anyone? Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
But can you go a little deeper?
All I'm saying is that when you get enlightened, that enlightenment that you have, for example, when we talked about baptism and we got enlightened about about the end of it when it comes to water. Now we want to know why. That's seeking more wisdom because of the enlightenment that you have. Now, when we find out what the why is because Jesus said, I will baptize. John said Jesus would baptize with spirit, And now we understand that wisdom of it. Now we enlighten again. So it's a circle of enlightenment, desire for wisdom, more enlightenment, and a desire for wisdom. Can you see that?
Yeah, so when you're enlightened, the more that you're enlightened, there is really no day or night. It just is.
Well,
it's just light.
It's just like the more you're in, well, it's still a day and a night, because the more you are enlightened, there's a desire for wisdom. And wisdom is dark, not dark in terms of nighttime, but dark in terms of we can't see it at that moment. When we say things like, I don't see it yet, what we're trying to do is get enlightenment from wisdom. And when we say enlighten me, we're actually saying, explain to me what you're saying. In other words, enlighten me with the wisdom that you have. Does that make sense? Can you see that rather?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So day and night to me is simply a manifestation of that. And because, you know, in actuality, we are not confined by time. What I mean by that is this: when you are in this space of spirituality above everything, is that's your desire, then you are not living within the boundaries of time anymore. And that is the reason that the days as we see them and know them are quicker. They pass faster than they have to us in the past. However, for other people, those days can belong to them. But most people are beginning to see how quickly the years pass, or the months, the days pass. So that being the case, based upon what I said earlier, that means that there is more enlightenment in the earth. And the wisdom that sustains the earth is being understood at a rapid pace now. Questions, comments? I'm done.
I was going to ask too. So is that why we are waking up like we don't sleep as much as we used to anymore? Is that why we're waking up like around 3 and 4 in the morning? Is that one of the reasons too? Because of that enlightenment, we're being called to wake up and to receive downloads or something from the universe, from Elohim?
To me, Evelyn, downloads come better when you're asleep, because you don't have any interference from your mind and your thoughts.
That I see that.
As far as waking up at that time, excuse me, I don't know. I can only speak from my experience. I know that when I was waking up, anywhere between 3 and 5, sometimes between 2 and 5, I would write. And that's why some of the teachers that during that period would see stuff like at 2 o'clock in the morning, because that was the time that I would write. It's like I was sitting, of course, looking at it retrospectively. I was sitting in the midst of wisdom during that time of the morning or that time of the night, and sitting in that bastion of wisdom, I was being shown light. Put your phone, please. And as I was seeing that light, I began to write what I was seeing. Does that make sense?
I kind of did not hear the last part.
I said when I sat in that bastion of light, I'm sorry, that bastion of darkness of wisdom, I would receive enlightenment. And the enlightenment that I was receiving was like what you described as a download. It would come to me, even though I was not searching for it. It searched for me. Now, this is the conundrum that I have with that, is that I'm always searching for understanding. I'm always searching for enlightenment. I'm always searching for wisdom. So I was not consciously seeking enlightenment, because the thing that I was enlightened about, I was not able to form a question to ask about it, because I didn't even know most of it exists in the form that I was receiving it. Does that make sense?
Evelyn, are you speaking?
Yes, sir. I'm here. I said, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, Pastor, when you're saying that, when you mention the word seeking, is that the same as you're being open to receive?
Yes. Seeking, at some point in your life, if you're traveling a journey searching for truth, at some point in your life, you get to the place where you're no longer consciously seeking. You just live a life of seeking. It becomes such a part of you until you don't even have to think about it. That's all you desire, is to understand the wisdom of the universe, which means that you are constantly seeking. And my seeking to understand would bring me answers, or bring enlightenment to me at odd times of the night, which we call odd, of course. But there are a lot of things in the body that takes place as well between 3 and 5 o'clock in the morning. But anyway, let's just stick with the wisdom right now.
I agree with that. I think I like the question, because I too think there's something, lack of a better way of putting it, something magical, something beautiful that takes place then if you allow it to, and if you embrace it that time of morning. I like to think of it as my time with the universe while the world sleeps. I have this time, and as you said, Pastor, it's usually a good time to either write or meditate. Sit in meditation. So it reminds me of, I'm trying to remember the little boy who became the priest. Was it Samuel? When he was a little boy, would hear God speaking, and he went to Samuel a couple of times and said, "What did you call me?" And finally Samuel figured it out and said, "No, next time you hear the voice, say, 'What is it, Lord?' Here I am, or here am I." I can't remember how it was worded. So I think that's a message to all of us as we go through this growth, this journey. I think all of these things become opportunities for us to see more and to grow.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions or comments on anything, not just this? Okay.
I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Is anyone seeing the effects of what we're putting in the macro on a larger scale?
This is Ramel. I want to comment to that, what Ms. Barber just asked. Yes, the shooting in Las Vegas, when there was a lady who came out and spoke for the university and talked about the fact that we can't think about mental health after the fact. It's real and we need to deal with it now when people are crying out. And I thought it made me think about what we talked about in terms of things changing. And I thought that was really important because she spoke at the TV announcement about the shooting. And I thought that was different and it was nice.
I want to speak to what you just said in a few moments, because I want to hear other responses to Barbara's question.
I'm starting to hear a lot. The same language that we're using, I'm starting to hear a lot in other places. So that might be one example.
I think too, we speak of the wars and the stirring up of things and the chaos that we're in. I think all of that is related to what we're doing. But I also uh, embrace the younger people who are uniting over this, who are seeing things from a different eye. And we've talked about this before, but a different perspective than their fathers have, and who are having the courage to not only see things but to stand up and stand against it, regardless of the threats or whatever. Even the political excuse me, the political arena, with the election coming up, I think you're going to see younger people with a different voice who are reaching out and looking at candidates that are being for real and want to address real issues and not just the same old kind of thing. So I think it's all around us. We may not always visualize it or see it when it's there, but yeah, I agree with you. I think we are seeing it.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. This is George in Philly. I too have bared witness in reference to young adults who are having conversations with regards to incarceration and who are talking to each other in terms of just some of the well, I don't want to say hardship, but experiences that they have witnessed as a child going to visit their loved one in the institution, and how they have been impacted by getting a felony, but the desire to want to now change that mindset, change that situation where they're empowering one another to realize that they have the power to change. And I think it was one young lady who mentioned, that she used to go see her mother in prison, and she just wanted so much for her mother to go with her when she left, but just how that has impacted on her life now, where she has the opportunity to change that. And so to be able to hear young adults, again, encourage one another to realize that they too have the power to change their situations and circumstances. But it's just nice to be able, it's a blessing on them in terms of things that are changing in the macro that, gives us, the appreciation that they want to come more into the knowledge of who they are, their true self, when we talk about, again, the importance of caring for one another. So I just wanted to share those thoughts, but I too am seeing some things in the macro that is pleasing to my ears. I'm done.
George, I see young men at my job, and that have also been through the system, and so much so it made me think that the penal system is a branding, sort of like branding cattle. It isolates us against everybody else, and makes you stand out. And the energy that you're talking about is extremely important, that we turn that around to know. And the turning around is the recognition of who you are and how important you are, not only to your family, but us to each other and to the universe. So yeah, that too is one of the marks to see that, and it's a painful thing to you meet somebody and they talk about their time in jail, and it's like, wow, this is this happens more than I guess I had realized, or even think there's a reason why you're seeing this. What are you to do with this? How does this impact you? So yeah, I too have noticed that.
Yeah, and then Rhonda, as we were speaking, again, what resonating with me, are these 7 principles of Maya. What's resonating with me is being able to, hear, with, with my third ear that things are manifesting for the good.
Yeah.
I think that when the young adults realize that they have, the power not only to change their situation and families, but to change the universe. And I think in their own ways, they are, not caught up in, I want to say religion or spirituality, but just their heart, as Pastor mentioned early, it's the heart soul. And I think some of them now are reaching out. A Hispanic gentleman, Miguel, was saying, we got to stop drilling. And I think he was speaking in reference to the words that are being spoken or words that are being, put out there, in terms of what our young adults are listening to. But that, we gotta, we have to stop, drilling in that sense where we're putting messages out there that's dealing with hatred or the dealing with violence, and being able to appreciate, listening, to others who have something in common. So something is happening, like I said, in the macro, something is happening at the place where, I work, that I can see more, not only the participants, but the staff are engaging and asking questions about universal or humanitarian concerns. So again, it's just been a great week for me to just bear witness to those things and to be sensitive in terms of, communicating, with each other. Again, thanks for letting me share those thoughts, everybody. I'm done.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for the responses. I too am seeing just so much. When we say what's the story behind the story, or what's the storyline behind the story, the storyline behind the story is what's the truth of that's not necessarily overtly being shown. And I see it on so many different stages and so many different levels. And I say stages, whether it's political, economic, or whatever. Uh, um, if you look at what's happening, the pressures being brought to bear on even the Biden administration, that's supposedly supposed to be the nation. We're part of the nation that's supposed to be one of the strongest in the world. I think people are saying that might be so, but are you doing what's right? Are we doing the just thing? Are we doing what's beneficial to most people? Are we doing what's beneficial to um, um, people regardless of ethnicity, regardless of race? So I see that, and particularly when I think several of you talked about the young people, they're saying, yeah, things are not going to go just the way you want them to go, just because it always has. And so they're beginning to question, I don't know if I want this Democratic president. I don't want this Republican president. What's my option? What's my alternative? And so people are understanding that they've got to meet people's needs where they are, rather than their own personal needs, or whether they are their own political agendas for their party. The party is nothing if you're doing nothing for the people, if you're not addressing the needs of the people. And that's not just here, that's in any nation, any country, anywhere in the world. And all of that is tied back to the principles of Maya, of truth and beneficence and justice and order and all of that balance. I've just been thinking about all of that and thinking about the principles, more specifically of balance, the place where opposites exist. The place where opposites exist. Well, if they exist together, that means they are coexisting, which implies that even though they are opposites, they are getting along, in another way of saying that. So just thought I'd ask that question. Because I
also,
so much. Go ahead, Audrey.
does it also imply that both are necessary?
Yeah. In order for movement to occur, is that rest and is that movement and rest, movement and rest. Well, sometimes there has to be a catalyst that propels the movement, and the rest is okay, taking the time to like wonder about, meditate on, think on. Okay, what was that all about? What does that mean to me? What does that mean to the world? And then there's the movement again, the enlightenment again. So yeah, it is necessary.
I think I see the change too in the Israeli Hamas situation. I think this is probably the first time that I can recall that so many people are standing up and saying, wait, this is not right. In terms of how the Israelis are dealing with the Palestinians. I don't think I've seen it like this in my lifetime. So,
And
yeah,
the other thing about that is Israelis say we aren't going to leave our people behind. I'm sorry, we're going to get our people at all costs. Well, the language changed this time where they were talking about we're going to get Hamas. And then the people are saying, wait. All of this killing is not worth what you're doing. So yeah, internal shifts in ideology, internal shifts in thinking. You can see it on a much broader scale. Whereas where there's seeming chaos, we gotta remember to look for the story behind the story.
Yep. I see. I'm listening to what's being said, and what I'm hearing is that even before we started talking about the 42 affirmations of Ma'at, they were already in action. The people who are seeing things differently than they've ever seen them before, if you think about what has been said in regards to that, all of that is within the borders of the 42 affirmations. And I believe that the reason that Audrey not seen in your lifetime, because it's never happened in the history of the existence of Israel, ever. Because not only have they controlled the news media, but they've also made commercials to control the messaging. It's different now because of social media, and them not being able to control every aspect of it. The other thing is that that I see in this, when we talk about the decisions that people are making, and Barbara mentioned whether I want a Republican or Democratic president, et cetera. One of the things that I don't believe we've thought about is the subtle injustices that that we face. And I think that the reason we don't necessarily notice them maybe is because we have always suffered these types of injustices, and we have been groomed by the church to embrace them by simply saying you just need to pray about it. One in particular that comes to mind is that when the Asians got punched in the face during COVID, and they went through this for how long? How long did they have to endure this violence towards them? 1 year. 1 year. And immediately Biden put forth an Asian and South Pacific bill, hate bill, and it passed the Congress with 97 to 1. There have been over 200 lynching bills put before Congress, and none of them has passed. So why is it that the Asians get punched in the face for a year and they get a hate bill, crime bill passed, and we've been doing this for over 400 years and get nothing passed? It's because this country is not going to free us. The Creator never intended for us to be freed by this country, or any country for that matter. The thing that we call freedom now is actually a more controlling stage of slavery than the world has ever seen. The control now is with dollars and not chains. And the control is so effective until we don't even think about being enslaved. The reason we are not to look to anyone to free us is because we are freedom itself, and we are just becoming aware of that reality. And when you are Elohim, when you are the essence and the womb of every human on the face of this earth, who can you possibly look to deliver you other than yourself? None of the world will be delivered until we deliver ourselves. I see the principles of deliverance taking place when I hear people saying that enough is enough. There's too much killing. When I think about that in regards to the shootings, Vermeer brought up the shootings in Nevada that happened last week. We think about the mass shootings and we talk about someone being mentally ill every time one happens. But we don't think about the mass shootings that's taking place, the mass killing that's taking place around the world, especially right now with our eyes on the Palestinians. If it takes someone, if someone is mentally ill because they kill 15 people in the US or 21 kids, how deeply or how much more of a mental illness does Biden and Netanyahu suffer from if they can watch 15,000 plus people murdered simply because you want to exterminate them? The whole system is mentally ill. And that mental illness is not something that can be remedied with medication or counseling. Counseling's not going to do it, medication's not going to do it, and prayer is not going to do it. The embracing of the reality of our essence, the essence that the Creator brought us into existence with, that is the source of the deliverance of which we speak. I see a handful of people, and that small cadre of people are committed to one goal, and that goal is the deliverance of humanity, so that humanity can experience the reality of being Elohim. And that small cadre of people has changed the way the world perceives what's happening in Gaza. I have never in my life seen American politicians as afraid as they are right now. Both Democrats and Republicans and independents are afraid. They are not afraid of us as much as they are afraid of themselves. An example of that is, and we've heard this on the news all week, if Hunter Biden's name was anything other than Biden, his last name, he would not be prosecuted. That's just the tip of the iceberg. The fear that's being experienced in this country by those who are in power, that fear is of Donald Trump. They fear him because they know beyond the shadow of a doubt, if he wins this election, he's coming after them. They know this. They're beginning to experience what we have experienced for 400 plus years. They are afraid that they are going to be imprisoned or killed or both. And right now, their concern is dual. One is to eliminate or control as many people of color as possible around the world, keep them in check, while at the same time, they figure out how to remove from this political arena the mindset of a Donald Trump. They know that he's mentally ill. They know that he's ignorant as hell. They know that. The only thing that keeps them from moving against him is that he's a white man. And if we think that is not the truth, then imagine Obama saying the same thing that he said and doing what he's done. We would have forgotten him. They would have prosecuted him. We would have forgotten he's in jail. So what I'm saying in essence is this. In the midst of this debauchery of what's happening in the Middle East, in the midst of this same thing happening in this country, but in a spiritual way, differently than what's happening in the Middle East. The whole of Europeans who are in power in this earth, for the first time, they are living in fear. For the first time. They don't even know the source of the fear. They think Donald Trump is the source of it. They think Palestinians are the source of it. They think that the African female in particular in this nation is the source of it, but it's not. The source of their fear is that they feel the rumblings of change. And our Creator has indeed brought to bear the rumblings that are taking place, because there are a handful of people who are seeking justice for humanity. There are a handful of people who believe, totally believe, that all of humanity should be treated the same, and there should not be poverty, starvation in this earth. And because of that, the universe has begun to move, and that movement has caused the trembling, the rumbling in this earth. What we are seeing is not only the demise of a country so a nation can be raised in its place, we are also seeing the death of a mindset that has plagued the world for thousands of years. We're seeing the death of religion, whether it be Islam, Judaism, or whatever. We're seeing the death of that. Those things that have made it possible for humanity to be placed in bondage simply because a group of people were greedy. And then we see that there are people of color, the Saudis, who have taken on the same mindset of those who actually run this world. And they too are in fear of what is to come. When you give thought to it, you see that it's not so much chaos as it is fear. And I don't hear young people, or for that matter, I don't hear many people other than the white folks who are in power are grumbling about Donald Trump. I hear people say that, well, we've survived it before. That's white folk business. They're gonna have to handle that themselves. All that we've heard, but the fear is in the voices of those who are in power, because they realize, without regard to anyone and how much money they have, they are in danger. But you mute your phone, please. They are in danger, and that danger exists because we are beginning to embrace the reality of who we are. The journey from the kingdom of the Cushites to where we are now, that we have embarked upon, is a journey not of retribution, but a journey of resurrection. Resurrecting the mindset of the earth so it coincides with the mindset that was so from the beginning. The mindset that we are experiencing was not so from the beginning. And now, not only are we returning to beginning, the whole earth is returning to beginnings. And the return to beginning is not necessarily understood by those who are returning to beginning. When you hear people railing against what's happening in the Middle East, railing against Netanyahu, especially the Jews themselves, and I use all these terms loosely, that is desire to return to what was so in the beginning. And in order for us to know what was so in the beginning, Only thing we have to do is relive in our minds and our hearts the things that we have discussed over the previous weeks. And what we actually did when we started our journey from the Twa in southeastern Cabelon, when we started that journey through Africa, we had returned to beginning, and now had marching orders to come to the day where we are now. And the day where we are now is expressed in those things that are happening around us. And I don't mean the war. I simply mean the change of the mindset of those who otherwise would be 100% supportive of what's happening in the Middle East. But right now, the affirmations, the 42 affirmations, are beginning to be experienced by those who seek justice for humanity. Am I saying we did that? I'm saying we opened the door to that. And now we're catching up to the door that we opened and understanding what those principles are. And the difficulty that we have in going through those principles is seen in the reality that they are us and we are them. And simply by our desire to understand them is bringing those affirmations, rather, bringing them into the manifestation in the earth. These are the manifestations that we are experiencing. These are the manifestations that the earth has longed for. And it's time for the earth to stop mourning. And I don't mean just the physical earth itself. I'm talking about the energy that sustains the earth has been mourning for those who are in charge, those who are told to dominate, to truly dominate. And that domination is to embrace the righteous energy so that righteousness can prevail, not only for the human, but for the earth itself. I'm done. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, everyone. One of the things I would like to add, based upon what Reverend Richard said and what was said before him, as it relates to understanding. The formula to understanding is you got to listen. If you're in a dialogue with someone, or if I'm in a dialogue with you, anyone, I listen to understand that individual. I don't necessarily listen, give a rebuttal or support so quick. I got to understand what this individual is saying. And this is one of the things that I applaud with the generation behind me. My nieces and nephews, by way of my sister, and that colony of people, they listen to understand. They're very much productive. Some are doctors, some are in law school, principals, guidance counselors, history teachers, football coach, owners. In my dialogue with them, and it helps that I got a chance to see them grow up, play a part in their life. But yet that's the one thing that I applaud with that young generation. They listen to understand. Or they don't do the listening or listen to give a response. With my nieces and the young lady that attended Greater New Faith, that went to Claflin on a volleyball scholarship, she's in that arena. And I can say to them, y'all gonna go out there in these got doggone yoga pants, you better make sure your son know how to fight. No one takes offense to that. No one put their dukes up. And you can hear the responses of my niece, who's grown up through education, now a principal. George, when I was out here teaching still is, I cover my big butt up. I ain't trying to disrupt nature. So the key
George,
to any kind
may I ask you a question?
of yes, Reverend Rich, you can ask a question.
Okay, I just want to understand, what does the wearing of yoga pants have to do with, our being in a space
Well,
where we're seeking to understand
well,
wisdom?
for Reverend Richard, in the education, see in Pine Street and Spartanburg Day School, ain't no one gonna say nothing about your mama. Now Carver Elementary, at Black School, somebody gonna say something about your mama. And you even alluded to the fact of one time, you want to start a fight between two black men, let one of them say something about the other mama. So in it, it was just an example. Ain't no one trying to control you. Want to wham, wham. Yet whatever you do, there are consequences and perks to any kind of maneuverability that we do. You do a good act, trust me, consequences coming with that. Good consequences, bad consequences. All I'm saying with that generation behind us, what I experienced, they listen to understand. And that's going to be the key to any kind of movement for growth. You gotta. I know a guy named Whisper, Reverend Richard. If you listen to him, he'll tell you how to make your money out here and with that arena that he's in.
I
That's
appreciate
it. Thank
all.
y'all very much.
I appreciate everything you're saying, George. However, I want us to also remember that I know for me anyway, I don't necessarily understand everything I read or everything that is said when we are in sessions, but it resonates. And when it resonates, I don't have to understand it. When it resonates, that means my soul understands it. It hears it. And as far as the whole concept of listening to understand, the people to whom we are speaking, not only are they not listening to us, they are not making any efforts to understand anything, yet we are speaking to them. How can that possibly be? Because when we put something in the macro, it is all about the embracing of the energy. We speak, and in our speaking, we don't make any efforts to force anybody to embrace. Neither do we know who is embracing or who is rejecting. All we do is grant an opportunity for the energy of righteousness, for the energy of harmony to be made available to those who are seeking a better way. And back to Barbara's question at the onset about what we were seeing, when we think about that, what we are seeing also is that the response that these young people are making, the response that people worldwide are making in relationship to what's going on in Middle East and other parts of the world, has nothing to do with whether they heard us audibly or not, because they didn't. It has everything to do with the spiritual energy that's there. They may not even see it as energy. They may not even embrace it as energy. They may not even be able to regurgitate anything that they're feeling. They may not be able to express any understanding that we have gleaned from the bastion of wisdom. None of that. Yet, there is something that changes them. There is something that guides them in a different direction. And that something that guides them is the energy. is the transformation of energy. It is an energy force that does not walk around with its head down, trying to do everything in a material way and trying to force people to believe what we believe. It is an energy that is the same energy that is above. That energy is also below. And that is the most powerful energy source any place. We're bringing the confusion out of the mindsets of people. And we must admit that even in that confusion, it is energy that has been confused. And we are bringing order to that. And in doing so, it is opening people up to receive the sources of energy that are necessary for balance in this earth. So I don't see this at all on a material plane. I see every bit of it on the spiritual plane manifesting in the material plane. And that in itself is what puts us in the position to truly embrace that we are indeed Elohim. It is written in the scriptures that we are Elohim. It is written in the temples and in the pyramids of old that we are Elohim. And now that we have realized that, and now that we are living that as best we know how, we are beginning to see the results. And the results that we are seeing is that humanity is crying out for change. And we are offering the road that leads us to change for everyone. I'm done.
Thank you, sir. Before I see if there are any other questions, I'm gonna go back to Ms. Barbara and see if she has any final word on her question. Did we answer your question, or do you have any final thing to? Okay. Okay. Anyone else then? Any other questions or comments about anything?
Hey, Ryan, I
Yes,
want to
sir.
know what was the reason that woman was trying to burn up Martin Luther King's home? Yes, home.
Mental
Charles,
illness. It
sir?
was mental illness, Ron.
Yeah. Yeah. Plain and simple, Charles.
What's that?
As Pastor said, mental illness.
Okay, that
Yeah. Lots going on, Charles. A lot of agitation in the world.
yeah, I see and understand too.
Okay, anyone else? Questions or comments? There is a proverb that says, as a man thinketh. I can't remember if it says, as a man thinketh in his heart, or as a man thinketh, so is he. What does it have to do with affirmations? What are we doing by looking at these? What are we seeing here? Because they're simple to read. It's simple to read, and we've made a conscious effort to try to open them up a little bit and make them applicable to where we are in this journey that we are taking. But what does that have to do with because this is more than memorizing. See, you think about an affirmation, you think, I want to be wealthy, I want this, I want that, I want. So it does something to you. It's more than just memorizing something. So what are we thinking here when we do these? How does this apply to us? In what way, I guess?
Ron, I see it as it's I embrace what I read it resonates with me, and that is who I am.
Yeah.
That's what I get from it. This is who I am. So embrace it and just let it marinate. That's what I get.
Okay. And that's primarily what the point I'm trying to make, Evelyn, is when we think of affirmations, I'm affirming something. This is a principle that I'm standing on. This is something that I believe, and something that I am opening myself up to. And I want this to be a part of it, because as we say, you can concentrate or desire wealth and you will gain it. Just as you wallow in hatred, that is what you become. So, in looking at these affirmations and studying them, this is where our heart is in this journey. I am truth. I am truth. I am justice in the world. I am righteousness. I am harmony. I am balance. You see, I bring about order. So as we look at these and these are the principles that we stand on. They're affirmations, but it's not something we're trying to memorize. These are things that are firmly in us, that have been there before we saw them on pages. We were living a lot of these principles, if not all of them, all along. But this just another way of showing us where we are in this journey. Any thoughts or questions on that?
Ron,
Yes, ma'am.
can I add to that?
Of course, yes, ma'am.
Pastor mentioned earlier something about no country having the ability to set us free. And he's right. But when we gain the mindset of these principles and affirmations, that is what will set us free, because we know ourselves, we know who we are. And when we internalize all those principles that you just mentioned, that is the very thing that will set us free. Because then we know ourselves, and our intent is toward humanity rather than any grudge or anything we have against somebody. No, that kind of all goes away.
Yeah.
When we internalize the principles and realize that they are us.
Yes.
Thanks.
I'm sorry, Barbara, you can go. I was going to say something, but you can go if you like to.
I was going to ask, add also, what color is truth?
Yeah.
What ethnicity is balance? What gender is harmony and loving kindness? Whatever external box we can use to describe something, can we put truth, harmony, balance into those boxes? They transcend that. That's the point. And when they transcend that, and when everybody captures that, embraces that, then we begin to see each other beyond the external boundaries that we put around things. And we are able to look at the authenticity of what truth is, what balance is, across people, across color, across gender, across ethnicity, across countries, across nations. And so that's the thing that this says to me. These aspirations go beyond physical. And when we all embrace that, what's in our heart, what's in our soul, these aspirations are what we think of because that's what we are. And so we begin to see each other in that way and not according to other ways that we used to define, describe, prescribe, subscribe, and proscribe, and place people in whatever box we choose. We think that's going to look better for them. Thanks.
Yeah. And Barbara and all of us who are on the call, it's not interesting or coincidence. These words, these principles that we are speaking is not something that just started because we looked into the affirmations or the principles. I've heard during a period of time that we spoke about truth. We spoke about balance. We talked about harmony. We talked about order, justice. You know what I mean? So it's like just reaffirming that it's sinking into our soul, that's bringing more, substance to our journey. And Ron, when you were speaking about As a Man Thinketh, the book is by James Allen,
Yeah.
in terms of, what you're saying. But when we talk about virtues, there's the 10 Cushite or Kemetic virtues, and the 3 that is of most significance they talk about is the importance of our thoughts, our words, and our actions. And so with those 3 virtues, we, come into that knowledge as a man, a woman thinketh, so is he or she. But we are seeing the manifestations of creating the desires that, we put out there in the macro, but it's just wonderful to know that it's all in us and it's all have been said by the power of words. And so I don't think that is no coincidence that we are revisiting, but it just has so much more meaning and so much power now that we're actually seeing, the manifestations of our desires and continue to be open to listen. So as I said, I've heard the word spoken by many of you, with regards to these 7 principles, but at the same time, again, it really is coming back to a remembrance that all of us have the opportunity to apply these affirmations. I just want to share those thoughts, Ron and everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautifully said.
Ron,
Yes, sir.
I want to express something I observed, and later on, my observation was confirmed. When we spoke with the group from West Oakland, California, Barbara made mention of the 42 affirmations, and there was no pushback, even though they were not understood. However, observing that there was no pushback, I also have been informed that there was a discussion at West Hope of these 42 affirmations because someone had researched them. What does that mean to me? What should that mean to humanity? A group of people who are where we were when we first started this journey, thought enough of those principles, or those principles resonated with them deep enough for them to research and discuss them. That's the power of the affirmations, not the curiosity of the people. It's the power of the affirmations. Because when it was mentioned that Mayat is no different than the Holy Spirit, and the principles were, the affirmations were there long before the 10 Commandments, et cetera, et cetera. It was like, it resonated so deeply, nobody felt like they needed to challenge that. So what I'm saying in essence is that the fact that we brought these principles to a place of discussion was enough to put them in the macro to the extent that they resonate with people regardless of whether or not they are quote unquote Christians or whether they are understanding them from based upon what they were meant to be. So that's saying there is not a human on earth who does not house the energy of these principles, of these affirmations. May not be able to recite them, that's not necessary, but they are present in all of humanity. And the energy of our speaking about them was enough to bring people to a place where they wanted to know more about them.
Yeah.
We are in a great place, and we are seeing the results of what we do every week. And again, that harkens back to the question that Barbara raised at the onset. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Well, one thing I like to add as it relates to truth, in the physical world and the material world, a high percentage of truth based upon what the physical eye sees. Not so much based upon what the physical eye sees and process, just what the physical eye sees. And in conscious arenas such as this, it's based upon what the ear hears in process, or what the eye sees in process, and it goes through its portal. Just in my 52 years, there are some people who are going to win some debates. They just look good. However, they don't even have to bring any kind of facts to the table, even with your ear. Some people can say some things, you'll roll with it, sound good. I can say something, it sound good, and you roll with it, and I'm like, do you just not know I got over on you? Now, half of what I said was true, factual. Yet that other half I said, nah, that wasn't. There's nothing that I can show you to back up what I just said. So this is the aspect of truth in the physical world and the material world. A high percentage of it is based upon what the ear hear and elects not to process, and or what the eye sees and elects not to process. Look at Greater New Faith, downtown facility. To some people, African Americans, they ain't where they want to be. They got to be at First Baptist. That's a Christian Life Center, got a good gym. Yet, 6 years straight, students got athletic scholarships, and the scholarships that they obtained, they got to that college first on academia. Look at First Baptist and Trinity United Methodist Church in Spartanburg. Is it a good place to network? Yes. However, in Greater New Faith,
George.
Yeah, what? Yeah,
Are you
Ron.
talking about the affirmations though? Are you talking about it, what it means to be what affirmation means to you, or how it relates to
I'm
the
just
script?
talking about with truth, affirmation, and Ms. Barbara said something about truth, and she stated about the authentic. I can't even pronounce the word, and I'm just adding on what I heard. It may not have nothing to do with affirmation, or maybe it does. All I'm saying is, as it relates to truth, if you see it, go through the portals of processing it. See it, go through the portals of whatever you heard, process it. That's all I'm saying. Too many of us done been hoodwinked around here because something sounds good. Ain't Bitmo did no kind of god doggone research on nothing.
Can I
This is how
tell
some
you the
people
difference though? Can I mention the difference to you? See, what you're saying is true. I agree with that. But what we're talking about here is truth that resonates with the soul. I'm not saying something that I may hear somebody talk about that I say, because there's plenty of times you can go out there and say, is that the truth or not? Let me research that. Let me look at that. Let me see if it, but I'm talking about something that touches the soul. I'm talking about looking at and finally understanding what the journey of being an Abraham is. What is the meaning of an Adam and an Eve? What is the meaning of in beginning? That is already in us. And what we're doing is opening up. So the opening up of this thing is almost like hearing music. It soothes you, it resonates with you. It's like an awakening. So it is not so much of research. And I think you've heard other people say on the phone, I may not understand. In fact, Pastor said it today. I may not understand everything you say in words. I can't regurgitate it, but I feel it. I feel it. So that's the difference in what we're talking about. It's not an academic thing or something that I'm trying to learn. With the recovering of truth is the recognizing of who you are, that I am Elohim. That is a concept that has been missed and extremely hard to embrace. I am Elohim. I am the Father of one. So that's the rhythm that we're talking about. That's the stepping in of the water and flowing with the current of truth and with harmony and being balanced. That's what we're talking about. Okay. So that's the arena that we're in right now, and that we're trying to gain understanding of.
I appreciate what George said, and he gave us lots of examples of the external ways that people define what truth is to them. So I appreciate that. All of those were excellent examples, whether it was secular or whether it was from the religious perspective, the economic perspective. People find their truth in lots of different avenues. The aspirations, I agree with what Ron said on to tie it all in the package. The aspirations go beyond all of that. They go beyond economics. They go beyond how I listen with my external ear, what I see with my physical eyes. These aspirations are based on the energy of the real me, the energy of who I actually am. And so I don't have to screen truth through all of those external things. I understand truth, and I understand justice, and I understand all those principles because I am that thing. And so when I see with my physical eyes, there's a resonance, as Ron just said, that occurs that says, okay, that resonates. That we're on this. You hear people say we're on the same wavelength. We're on the same wavelength. That resonates. I don't have to agree with what everyone says from their external perspective of how they define truth, but I can find those things within that individual that go beyond that resonates, that puts us in the same symphony, if you will, that help us play the same key, if you will. So I appreciate the fact that you gave all those examples of how people externally determine what truth is to them. And at the same time, I agree with what Ron said about truth being beyond all of that. It just is, and it's just more, and it just resonates.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else? I am the more I look at this book that I got from George, and the more I see it and understand it, the more I love it. And there's a couple things in here that I like to discuss. However, we'll do what we always do it, and that is go where the flow takes us. Okay. So I think today is a good time to take a pause and kind of reflect on what we've discussed so far, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. So you have any thoughts, questions about anything today, or any thoughts or questions about anything else tomorrow? That is what will lead the discussion. I want to remind us once a couple of things that we said when we talk about all this stuff that happens out there. What are we creating space for? We understand holiness. We understand what it means to be complete. So not only do we know that creating that space is not just for us to receive, but this is we have moved to the place to represent. We are all of mankind. We are the universe. So we are not just observers of what is taking place. We are active participants. So where are we? What do you create space for? What do you meditate on? Okay. Keep those things in mind, and maybe that's a good place to start tomorrow. I don't know. But have a great day. Again, thank you. Any final thoughts or questions before we get off? Anyone?
I want to remind us that the weekend of Christmas, we will not be on the 23rd, 24th, 25th, which is on a Monday. We will not be on, okay?
Thank you. Yes, sir. All right. Well, hope everybody have a great day. Again, thank you for all who participated, your thoughts, your energy. Thank you very much. Have a great day. See you tomorrow morning.
Thank you, everyone.
Here, family.
Bye, everybody.